and good morning to you. Welcome to Open Line right here at 98.7 KISS FM. It's a minute past the hour of 10 o'clock. I'm Bob Slade, and I'm always joined by the third answer who'll be walking in. We had some mad traffic, by the way, coming in. It was crazy. Judge Bob Pickett as well is here.
Yes, indeed.
And this is our last Open Line show here at 98.7 KISS FM. The name of the show is very interesting because our program director back in those days was Tony Gray. And we were just, we were sold to a radio company from RKO to Summit Radio, and we were going to make some new programming, new program. We were going to also add a gospel show. Yep. You know, it was going to be called Kiss Inspiration. And we had that down. I said, we were going to do a telephone talk show. I said, what's the name of the show? What do we call it? And I said, well, what we're going to do is Tony, what we're going to do is open the lines to the people. Stop right there, brother, stop right there. I said, what? That's the show right there. Open Line. And that's been the name since.
We're back with local media and the landscape of what's been going on in New York City.
Well, let's set the stage. We've got major media movements in the history of New York City media and
so
probably the country on the spot. We're going to have a new website coming up, so we really want to, we'll tell you about that at the end of the show. But what happened in New York, the major market, no denying that. You have two major stations, WBLS 107.5 and KISS FM 98.7.
Rev used to work on 107.
So what happens is these two major urban stations represent the audience of African American or people of color or urban. The most recent idea is urban radio.
Yes.
So Emmett Broadcasting, who owns KISS FM, said, you know what, we're not making enough money. Arbitron is the measurement for these folk, and they said our share, 3.2, 3.5, is not enough to pay the bills. So what we're going to do is lease it to ESPN, make a huge amount of it. It's like a $900 million deal, amazing amount of money. They couldn't leave it on the table. Sell the intellectual property rights. Now you can do that. You can sell everything that represents KISS FM will now go to BLS. Only problem is everybody who's become, you know, they spent around 30 years. What happens to these DJs? These shows like Open Line, Weekend Review, these staples, gospels. So we now have a situation where BLS is the only outlet for urban radio, maybe African American folk, political, social, entertainment, everything.
Not the only. Let's not say the only.
Well, I would say in the sense of the major, in the sense of the numbers. We're saying the aggregate numbers. So that's where we're at right now.
Well, certainly FM radio.
FM radio.
And of course, fewer people listen to AM radio because you got RL.
Exactly.
And you got, Inner City Broadcasting's AM station, WLIB.
Right.
But thank God, because now with the information superhighway, you have shows like On the Spot. But I heard a woman say one Sunday morning, 2 Sunday mornings ago, that when she found out KISS was going off the air, she said she didn't know what she was going to do on Sunday morning. And I said to myself, well, you can always come to church. I said, but really, when you think about it, if it's not On the Spot, if it's not BET when it was black owned, if it's not TV One, we always have to remember that we had the pulpit in the church as a place where we could communicate information, where we can inspire people long before we had radio stations. And these pulpits are still there. And we need to go back to our institutions that have always been there for us. Because see, when we become so dependent on a corporate-owned radio station, to whereas when they sign us off, we're in trouble as a community. We are indeed in trouble. But I thank God for the visionary Percy Ellis Sutton, the man who hired me at BLS and LIB and brought me there. He left a place for us. Now that station is under attack also, because it all comes down to, as we have, and this is the fallacy and the mistake of us moving into integration. Just because we have more choices doesn't mean that we should not support things that belong to us. And that's I'm just so sad, because in a city with 3 million black people, one major station
doesn't make sense
now That's the only urban station that we have on the FM frequency to listen to, and that's a tragedy.
Well, I tell you something. James May Kiss FM.
Right.
My mentor was on the show here in about 2006. Matter of fact, it was 2006 when the Republicans first got elected.
Right.
And we spoke about this. And Brother James said, look, you own this here, so they can't really take it away.
Right.
That's right.
He said on any given day, and it'll be shocking when I send him this clip, he'll be amazed that we talked about on any given day, they can sell Kiss.
Right.
But he also spoke about, and we'll play that clip, he also spoke about the time they went, Don King had a $4 billion line of credit, and they went to buy some of them radio stations for Clear Channel. So you'll hear what happened with that. He'll tell you that out of his own words.
Look, the reality is, brother, I've been doing the open line for 12 years now. Tomorrow we can get a call, it's over. I'm going to say something, give you an example, brother. And this ain't third party, I was there. Reverend Sharpton, myself, Don King, Cutman, Charles Etheridge, and there was another brother from Telemundo. Clear Channel had to sell off, this was about 4 years ago, maybe 5, 123 stations. This is a fact. The FCC said you got too many, and a certain amount has to be owned by minorities. We went down there, met with the chairman of Clear Channel, the chairman. Don King opened up a letter of credit for $4 billion. I almost fell out the chair, from Wall Street.
Don King?
Don King said, this group of us wants to, how many stations can we buy? Now look at me, brother. I ain't saying I heard, I was sitting at the table. So with $4 billion, you would think we would walk away with something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still waiting. Tick, tick, tick. We didn't get one station.
Why is that?
Because we were talking about the building, having enough stations to begin to build a black talk network.
See, we have a problem because we didn't invest in our own.
Right.
Cutman talked about it on Kiss FM all the time in terms of the Arbitron ratings and the advertisement agency. I believe they was getting $26 million last year, Kiss FM, in advertising aid, and this year they got about 3.
Right.
And that might have been their demise.
Well, you do. Here's one thing that clearly the Reverend said. We have to look at these institutional, really the historical footprints of African American community. Clearly the church. It does not, an interfaith idea, the church, the mosque, all of them came there. Right. Now in the 21st century, we look at the role of social media. We looked at, the last show you talked about Trayvon Martin, how it bubbled up. You said something, to paraphrase, is like it would have been swept under the rug.
Right. Yes.
So black radio has always been the power.
It's the talking drum.
The talking drum. And my brother's always a big advocate of the fact that, we can't lose our culture because not everybody's going to cross over. Not everybody's going to be in the entertainment world. But more than that, we have to be able to say our preachers, our imams have to have a place to talk to our community. We have to own it. Yes. And that's what we're looking at. How can we be in the largest market?
Right.
And
not only being in a large market, but have had such a visionary like Percy said. Right. But, part of this game that Arbitron plays, when you think about African Americans, and we know what the African American listening tastes are. And for many years, black urban radio has never gotten a fair shake with the Arbitron rating system. It was never geared toward taking an accurate reading of our taste. But I continue to say this. WABC here in New York, 770 AM, has shown how you can take an AM frequency and make it a multi-million dollar operation. And I have said, I've talked to the people at LIB, I've talked to the people at WWRL, I have said that in the era of a black president, the fact that we don't have black talk in this city the way we used to in the 90s, it is a crying shame. And as much as I love gospel music, I'm a pastor. But to have an AM station in this city with a black president in the White House, and all day the station is playing gospel music, and people have to turn to either liberal stations,
Yes.
which have a different politic than
Yes.
African American politic, or conservative stations to find out what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
It's a great tragedy. It's a great tragedy.
Well, it's going to continue until we figure out how we should own our own and what should we do when we have it. Because it's no different than BET and TV1.
Right.
You keep showing stuff. I mean, you're still showing us good times.
Well, it's true.
Good
It's
times?
I know. Well, we go all the way back to the different things. I always like when they talked about, I guess, BET and the owner at that time. He said he doesn't let his children watch it. I forgot Rob Johnson.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you're not going to let your children, why would you let African American children in large
Who
amounts?
phone and read television?
Right, watch it.
That's what it comes
But
to.
that's why on the spot we're going to
Very
we're
important.
going to have, we're announcing today on this show that we're launching our new website, onthespotnetworks.com. It's coming. It's going to be coming soon. We're going to let you know it's going to be our launch, but we want you to tune in, basically, and then also everybody's social media. We want you to like us on Facebook.
Tell them again.
You got to remember, like us on Facebook. That's the key issue. So
We got a Twitter account.
and we got a Twitter account too.
Like us on Twitter.
Well, you got to follow us on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter.
All right, that's
Get it
okay.
right now.
It's all
You know what I'm saying?
I
He's getting there.
understand.
He got his
I'm learning
iPad,
social media,
and he's good.
I'm
But
learning
we're
social
gonna
media,
follow
too.
us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.
All right.
We're out.
And I'm going to keep preaching on Sunday.
There you go,
You keep putting on shows.
Reverend.
'cause
What's
we
the
need-
church you're at?
Nazarene Congregational United Church of Christ, 506 McDonald Street, here in the village of Bedford-Stuyvesant. All are welcome every Sunday morning, 11 a.m.
Tell them again.
506 McDonald Street, that's at Patchen Avenue,
Right.
A-Train to Utica Avenue.
There you go.
All are welcome every Saturday morning. We're a church that's talking about the kingdom that is to come,
Right.
but we're not so earthly bound that
That-
we're not so heavenly bound
That you
that
don't.
we're not earthly good.
There you go.
All right?
We're out.
It's like Robin Hood in reverse. It's Romney Hood. The potentially devastating impact of the PPM system on our company and the African American and Hispanic communities will be profound because it will likely result in the disappearance of a number of minority radio stations.